It
Well,
is
I'm the
just
same way. So, like, one of the things that I did not know about having a child was that you weren't going to get a baby to laugh or smile at you. So, like,
yeah,
that was one of those things that I was expecting I would be able to immediately interact with the child. And what nobody
yeah,
told me was the child, when they're first born until 8 weeks, 10 weeks, something like that, they have two phases: neutral and upset. And
yes.
like, neither of them give you any negotiating power. All you have is, I want you to be in the neutral phase, and if you're in the angry phase, I've got to do something because
How
you
do
could.
I get there?
And it's like dealing with a terrorist, right? Once you have smiling, now they've got something they can negotiate with you on, and you can figure out how to make them happy. But that whole section of life is something that when they portray it in the movies or they portray it on a commercial, they only portray it as the negative. And there's certainly those times when you're like, I do understand why people shake their babies because there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing I can do here. But you also don't, when you're watching the movie or the commercial, have any sense of connection between the parent and the child. And like, even when they're super, super upset, you're still like, you're mine. I'm responsible. I don't have any other choice but to be here. And even as much as my one voice is telling me, set you down and go walk away from the screaming, there's some other thing deep inside of you that's just like, you're here. This is just
Like,
what we're doing.
yeah, like you signed up for this, right? Like
Yeah.
you had a baby and now you're stuck here. And stuck is like a relative term because I don't want to say stuck sounds so like bad. It has a very negative. You're stuck here. But like you said, it's like what you chose to do. And as much as you want to say like, I need 5 minutes, you know that baby is going to cry for that entire 5 minutes and not just cry, like level 30 cry, screaming to where they can't catch their breath. And now they're going to be gassy. And that's my issue is like, I horribly predict the future, especially with a newborn with the kids. In real life, I very much try to stay in the present because I can walk myself down a very, very tangled path if I'm like, well, what now? Well, if this happens, then this is going to happen. And I go very negative very fast in my brain. And so I've learned that I can't do that. Why can't I do that with my kids? We have a bad nap. Well, in my head, I'm already preparing for the next thing. Like, that means sleep's going to be bad tonight, which means he's going to be horrible. I'm going to be up all night, which means that I'm going to be tired. And tomorrow we're going to have to do this and go to work. And I'm already upset about that. And it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon the day before. And so that's where I can easily try to relate to people saying, slow down. And I have to tell myself that, like, I don't ever look in the mirror and say, Kylie, slow down. But I do have that inner conversation with myself, like, okay, take a deep breath, because in reality, like at some point things are going to go okay between now and tomorrow at 4 o'clock. In the next 24 hours, something is going to go right. Hopefully.
So, what did you learn about yourself that you didn't expect by becoming a mother? What changed with you?
I can live on a lot less sleep than I ever thought I could. My less sleep in college was like because I drank too much and I stayed out too late or stayed up studying or something, not on the same night, obviously, but I can function on a lot less sleep, and your values change. What I once thought was valuable all of a sudden is much less valuable because kids are so exhausting, but so incredible at the same time. If they didn't cause me so much less sleep and like mentally like kind of crazy at the newborn stage, we would have like 4 or 5 kids. But I think that we've fully extended our level of craziness with this third one. And then our business also kind of like limits that. And so I think I've learned also, I can't be everything for everyone without taking care of myself. I very much value working out. And that's kind of my escape. That's kind of my self-care, if you will. And so I take that time. Like if my big kids want to play with me right now and it's workout time, I'm like, guys, I need you to be more patient and go do something else. Go play, go read your books, go do something else, because this is time for me. And so learning those limitations and those limits that I have to set for myself, limitations in the regard that you have 3 kids to take care of and you can't always tell them, no, go do something else, or you know, you don't always get that workout in or that self-care, but also setting limits for yourself to make yourself a priority. I didn't really do that for myself until I became a mom. And I didn't
Yep.
even really do that for myself until after like my first kid was older.
My good buddy Jared McDaniel talks a lot about how when you become a parent, you actually have to burn off so much of your childhood, that a big part of having the first child is that you're lighting so much of yourself on fire. Things that you thought were intrinsically a part of who you were, or what you just had to have in order to be you. And now you're discovering like, oh my God, one, I can't do it, so that's going to get lit on fire. And two, if I want to be this other thing that I now want to be, that I've got to burn it off fast enough that I can be that parent. And I from what he's told me is that as you have your second and your third child, there's less burning off of you because you've already started to figure that out. There's still things you're burning, but the biggest transition is the first one. And God, I hope so, because there's no more left to light on fire.
Do you just have one kid?
Yeah, just six months old. Yep.
I say just lightly because kids are awesome. Like, congratulations, 6 months, like everything will change rapidly until like they're 3, and then it starts to really slow down. But you are absolutely right. I've never heard that analogy or that you are absolutely burning off anything you thought. Jordan and I always joke, what did we do with ourselves before we had kids? Like, what were we actually doing like in our spare time? Because I can't remember, but I know whatever I was doing was valuable to me. Like, whether that be maybe catching up on a Netflix show or reading my book or going and socially hanging out with friends. What did we do? Because I don't remember, because now our time is completely filled up with things that we wanted, but still different than what I thought, at the time that I wanted. And I think that's a really good point. Your first kid is really hard. It's so hard because you make a whole entire life adjustment. Like, you had to take care of your 30-year-old self. And that's all you had to do. Because your partner could take care of themselves, obviously. And so if you wanted to eat, you ate. Or if you wanted to take a shower, you took a shower or go to the gym. And when you have a kid, they say, no, you can't do that right now when you want. You may still get to do it, but it's not like there's no time schedule with kids. And you just learn to go with the flow. First kid, Kylie, was like, kind of crazy, didn't understand it, didn't really know that, because they don't prepare you for that. Like, the world does not prepare you for having your kid. They tell you what to buy and what might make them sleep better and what formula is the best, or if breastfeeding's the best, blah, blah, blah. They push all these opinions on you, but like, they never give you the true depiction of like what life is actually like at 3 a.m. 4 weeks into having your first kid.
Yeah, I mean, one of the thoughts that's come up with me recently is I really had very little ability to distinguish between happiness and joy before I had a child. And now I would say happiness is one of those things that you can feel. It's like, good, you've accomplished something. It's this feeling of euphoria, but it also, like, basically as quick as it comes on, it goes away. Mm-hmm. But joy is like this enlarging of yourself. And I heard this analogy the other day of, it's like with tree roots, when they grow together and eventually you have, instead of having 2 trees, you have one great big tree. Mm-hmm. That really is the way that I think once you've had a child, you can experience this thing of joy where your roots are growing together, maybe with your spouse or maybe with your child, and you yourself are able to be a larger container for something that transcends just being happy. It's some form of fulfillment that is very difficult to put into words before you have a child.
Yeah. And I would tie that word joy also to being proud. You can be proud of yourself for an accomplishment that you've worked hard and completed. And maybe that's school, or maybe that's a job, or maybe that's something that you do for yourself. But until you have a kid and you watch them do something for themselves, maybe it's smile for the first time, or walk, or set up, or you have your 5-year-old who is using words that you must use in your home, because where else did they get them? But they've just used them correctly in a sentence. And you're just like, oh, it's astonishing. I mean, it makes you, like you said, you feel joy and you are so incredibly proud. And we watch too many cartoons at my house. So instead of, feeling like the tree roots growing together, I'm like the Grinch and my heart is growing, in sizes, because you just genuinely, you're like, I created that. And with that, we being parents, we get to create tiny humans that get to go do good things in the world. And so how we look at life, how we interact with them, how we as parents show them what's right and wrong, they're going to pick those things up. I firmly believe in learning at home. A kindergarten teacher friend of mine said, I can teach your kid the ABCs, but I cannot teach them to be polite. And so we get to do that as parents. And so whether parenting is your number one goal in life, or maybe it's your career or whatever, but when you become a parent, if that's the path that you choose, like you're shaping these little tiny nothing humans that you like don't smile at you, they are neutral or level 10. And then all of a sudden they are people who are going to go and make differences in the world and be somewhere people or anywhere people, whatever that decisions that they make, you were the foundation for. And I love that.
So as you think about that, as a somewhere person that said you felt a personal responsibility to come back and be a fourth generation farmer, when you think about the things that are out in the world that could pull your children in a direction that you don't want, what are the ones that frighten you? What are the ones that you're like, I really want to push that out or away as far as I can?
As far as just their paths in life, is that the question?
Yeah, I mean, like media or their paths in life, or you have to start sharing them with other people who are going to have an influence on them. So what is it that what influences are you trying to push away as far as you can?
Interestingly enough, being somebody that's on social media as much as I am, mainstream media and kind of it's like a little bit taboo. The cancel culture going on right now, that scares me a lot as a just person from a rural town. I would love for our kids to come back and farm. And so when we kind of frame our life for the kids, we try to show them what's really going on. I mean, sure, my son doesn't understand farming as much as, he's 5. So that's that. But he does understand that dad does work a lot and that mom is the primary caregiver, and he sees that aspect of farming. But in the same breath, we try to talk positively to them about how we internally really do feel about farming. And so if they want to come back, great. But we also want to give them the opportunity to make that choice to be an anywhere or somewhere person. We want to give them the tools early on in life to make those hard, critical thinking decisions on which way they want to go. And if they don't choose to come back, then that's something for Jordan and I to cross when that time comes. But I would say that idea of the cancel culture, I'm not super fond of that, but also just the media and how gullible we are to believe anything that we read or hear, whether that be true or not even the media, but we can go on Google and find anything we want to know about anything. And we can find articles to back up how we think we should believe, whether they're truthfully, real or not. And so that part scares me.
Thanks for checking out this podcast short. If you like this interview, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and hit that bell so you always get notified about this podcast. And if you're really interested in conversations like this, you may want to consider joining the Articulate Ventures Network. To find out more, go to network.articulate.ventures.